Johnny Vedmore Show. My next guest on this very busy edition of the Johnny Vedmore Show is a pioneer in standing up for medical cannabis users in the UK, and she has been persecuted for it. Jane Hinchliffe is a cannabis patient and advocate activist. She has used cannabis on and off for most of her adult life. Jane was diagnosed incorrectly with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, and very nearly diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. She was eventually correctly diagnosed with functional neurological disorder in 2020. In 2014, Jane fell off her bike, and that triggered an autoimmune disease called complex regional pain syndrome, which is also known as a suicide disease because the pain is so severe and 24/7. She spent time lobbying the government for cannabis to be made available on prescription with a small group of other activists, including a couple of epilepsy mums. They finally won and got it on prescription, but unfortunately, nearly 6 years down the line, they are still fighting for NHS access. In 2019, Jane served 46 days in prison for trying to grow her own medicine and is now being dragged back through the courts because she grew some hemp without a license, out of protest to the archaic laws. So Jane advocates for patients to make sure they are getting good service from their private clinic, and she also has her own CBD website where she sells products that she uses herself and some that she makes herself. Jane is a great human, absolutely salt of the earth, and this is her first real jaunt into speaking live. So I really appreciate her coming on to speak about this subject, and I hope you will all be supportive too. You can find Jane's website at sativadreaming.co.uk. That's dreaming without the G. And she's on X and Twitter at crazyjane125, and I would suggest you follow her. Jane, a warm welcome to the Johnny Vedmore Show. How are you today?
Hi, thanks for having me on. I am very good, thank you. And yeah, just really happy to be here. Although clutching those thoughts to keep me calm.
You do what you need to do. Now, tell us how medical cannabis has improved your life and the lives of those who rely on your help.
Well, it's improved my life massively because before this, I was in a wheelchair. The complex regional pain syndrome, the pain is so severe that I literally couldn't do anything. Now, cannabis keeps my autoimmune in remission. So when I take it correctly, I don't have to feel that pain. If you imagine somebody poured hot tar onto you and you can't get it off, that's what complex regional pain syndrome feels like. It's constant, and cannabis stops that pain totally. And it's amazing. Without it, I was in a wheelchair.
That's amazing stuff.
Able to be, yeah.
And what type of ailments have other people got that you've been able to help?
Oh, crikey. I've helped people with anything from epilepsy to the same as me, people that didn't realise what they had. They thought they had one condition because they've been misdiagnosed. And after spending time talking with me and going through symptoms and me helping them a little bit with CBD and stuff, it turns out that a lot more people have got functional neurological disorder and have been misdiagnosed. I've been helping people with tics, skin conditions, anything. If people need help and cannabis can help it, which is basically everything, because the endocannabinoid system is involved in every single illness known to man. And now that was Professor McCullen that discovered that. Bless him, he passed on not so long back. But yeah, every single illness can be helped with cannabis, and that's what I try to do.
And it's clear that the police are targeting you. Can you tell us a little about what they've charged you with?
So this time they've charged me with production of cannabis, although it was actually hemp. They're claiming that their expert has tested it and it's come back as cannabis. And I see absolutely no way how that's possible because it came from a birdseed factory, literally birdseed in my garden. And yeah, but I did have a tiny cannabis plant that was that big, fully mature. And I'm guessing that they tested that and didn't bother to test the actual hemp. So they've also charged me with possession with intent because I had some cannabis in the house. Well, it was for my own personal use, but they put the bulk of the value on a barn. And I'll show you the value of the pot, that size, at over £1,000. But they also seized the honey jar full, which is, it's this stuff. This is what I use. This is what I make. It's barn. You can't eat it because it's got essential oils in. Valued that at over £20,000. Now that's just the CBD and cannabis farm that I use for pain, and I give it away. I give these pots away to people all over the place. So if it was really worth that much, you think I'd be giving it away? But it's an amazing cream. It's based on the recipe from the Bible, the holy oil recipe, and it works for literally everything. And that is what the police are basically doing me for.
And how much have they priced up, like that jar of balm that you showed us? How much have they priced up things like that as?
So that was worth, it was £22,000, I believe, was the actual total amount. But one like that, the value would just over 1,000. And I obviously had quite a few of them because I use it and I sell it. But it's not. I don't see how it could possibly be illegal because of what I put in it. There's too much.
That's an insane street value that they're charging you with, though.
Yes, I know. And all of the value is on something that I believe surely it's got to be legal because of how I made it. I don't think it can be illegal. It's mainly CBD and essential oils with some THC, possibly, because I use the full spectrum oil to make it. But it's insane, absolutely insane. It really is.
Yeah. So why do you think? And I know you've answered some of this already, but why is medical cannabis so important, especially nowadays?
It's extremely important. I mean, especially nowadays, the shortages of certain medications. I mean, at the moment, I can't get hold of my iron. I don't think cannabis helps with that one, but I'm sure there's another plant medicine that would. But obviously, the government won't let us have that access either. But there's shortages of things like insulin, other shortages of, I'm not sure what other drugs, but I did read, and it's things that cannabis can totally replace. Now, diabetes can be treated with CBD and cannabis in the right combinations. And a lot of the medications that people need and are on, I came off using cannabis. So it's totally, sorry, I've forgotten to put my blooming phone on Do Not Disturb. And I'm an idiot.
That's all right. Yeah, that's all right, dude.
Sorry, you should know this about me. I'm absolutely used to now.
Well, we're going to go to a little break anyway. We're going to go to a little advert. Welcome back to the Johnny Vedmore Show on today's News Talk TNT. I'm here with Jane Hinchliffe, who's doing fantastic work, in my opinion, but not in the eyes of the law, of course, because, well, you know how they are. Now, if we want to change the game, and this is where we get to some points that are really important, if we want to change a game, we need a legally binding judicial review, and that isn't impossible. How can this be made possible, Jane?
Well, it's actually quite a big coincidence, is this. So, because of me having to go through the court case, I was stopped at Hull Crown Court and they refused to let me in with my medication. So therefore, I needed to do a discrimination case because they've broken the Equality Act. So by pure coincidence, I paid the £30 to join the See Our Future group, and I had a phone call with Guy Coxall yesterday. Now, all he needs is to raise a certain amount of money, and he can actually file the paperwork to put in a judicial review. We've got 5 weeks to actually raise the money. And if all of the cannabis patients that are registered in the UK were to pay £30, that would really make a massive... And it's not going to him. The money is literally going to pay for this judicial review. He makes no money out of what he does. You know, and it could change everything for us. If he
what
just
will happen?
Together.
What will happen if we get a judicial review? Yeah.
So if we get a judicial review, it will automatically stay every single case that's being prosecuted within the UK, including mine. So my court case will be put on hold. So all the people that say, I wish there was something I could do to help you for all the things you've done, I wish there was a way I could help, donate to See Our Future, please. Because if we can get that money together, then every single person that's been persecuted by the police for using cannabis or growing cannabis to help other people, it'll get put on hold. And because he's already gathered the evidence, he's already done the work, we know he's going to win. We already know that. and then cannabis will become legal, or at the very least decriminalised. The Novel Food Act, that will stop being able to control the CBD companies. So the CBD companies, all the CBD companies, please donate. It'll help you. You won't have that stupid level and not being able to use full spectrum products. That is how. It'll change the law. It'll change everything, 100%.
I know, it's crazy. Holly says the plant police in the chat. Grr. No one likes the plant police coming to take away your plants. It's just completely amazing. And Lord Melbury says the government and farmer don't like the competition. Why let people use cheap natural substances to get them well and deprive Philip May and his kind of making a ton of money? I know the people in the chat completely agree with you. So how many people in the UK do you think will benefit from legalized cannabis?
Well, from the last newspaper article I read, there's 1 million cannabis users in the UK. Whether they class themselves as recreational or not, all cannabis use, whether intended or otherwise, is medical, because you're always going to be getting the medical benefits, even if you think you're using it recreationally. Now, that was actually stated in a report done by Professor Barnes in 2015. They suppressed that report until 2018. That's when I read it, and that's when I became an activist. But yeah, it's. I mean, the pharmaceutical companies don't want us to get better. There's no money in a cure, and cannabis is the cure. It's the cure for everything. It can treat MRSA. Now they're saying, no, super antibiotics and super bugs and cannabis. Well, they've done the research. It treats MRSA. Why don't they use it in hospitals? Because they don't want to make you well. They want to keep you just sick enough. Just sick enough so that you can keep going.
Continually sick. And Tamsin, I think you would say Losice in the chat says, Seed Our Future is an amazing campaign. She says, I've met Jane on the circuit and she's an incredible advocate. And I agree completely with that. And I want you to be able to come on again and again. What will you do if cannabis is made legal?
If cannabis was actually made legal, it would give me the opportunity to help more people. Because at the moment I can help people with CBD, and obviously I can't use the whole plant. And some people need the whole plant because CBD treats some things and it works well for certain things. But some people do need THC. It's a fact that some people just don't react well to just CBD. We need the whole plant, and we need to be able to grow it ourselves at home. It's a hobby. My doctor told me, go get yourself a hobby. It'll make you feel better. I got myself a hobby. I started making my own medicine, and then the police come and took it away and made me poorly again. So in 2019, when I was in prison, it was the most painful 46 days I've had because I was without cannabis. And then get the cannabis back in my system, and I get very physical symptoms. And I've got photographs of my hand being so swollen because of complex regional, and it spread while I was in prison. Spread from just my knee and my hand to right on my back, my shoulders, my neck. So it could kill me. It could go to my organs if it comes out of remission again. So that's the position I'm in.
What was it like to go to prison for cannabis? Did you have a bad experience in prison, and did you feel that, let down by the entire country in that sense?
I felt let down by the system, very let down by the system, because I've worked very hard to come off prescription opiates, and I'd been maybe a bit too public and political. I was tweeting a lot about GW Pharmaceuticals, a lot about British Sugar. I was tagging the Conservatives and complaining on Twitter a lot. So I do believe that my imprisonment was politically motivated. The time in prison, it wasn't too bad actually. But because I was in a wheelchair, I had a cell to myself. Because I was so ill, I couldn't do anything, so they couldn't force me to work. It's basically like a workhouse as a prison, and they force you to work for a matter of pence a day. But because I was too ill, I was sat in my room. So I sat and I read a book a day. I read some very interesting books: Animal Farm, 1984, George Orwell. some really interesting books, and just some fun ones as well, like a bit of Dean Koontz and Stephen King. But that's all I could do was sit in pain in my room and read a book. So it did absolutely nothing for me beneficially, but prove that I need cannabis. That's all it did. And people were nice. I didn't get bullied or anything like that. There was no violence. All the people just wanted to get on with their own sentences. But it was very much, I had to go back onto some pharmaceutical medications, and that was the frustrating part of it. And obviously coming back out of prison after having started walking again, to being back in a wheelchair again and having to start the process all over again. But at least I knew what I was doing and could start it straight away.
Yeah. And now I'll tell you in the chat, Wild Heather says, sending much love to Jane Hinchliffe. She's a brave lady. And there's a lot of people who feel just like that. Jane, your time's up now, but you've done an amazing job at describing it. And I know I want you to be able to come on and tell me how it goes in the future too. And I want you to keep doing what you're doing, because you're doing something marvelous for a load of people, and a lot of people don't even realize how much of a pioneer you are right now, and one day they will. So thank you very much, Jane, for coming on the Johnny Vedmore Show.
Thanks for having me on. It's been brilliant. You've looked after me really well. Thank you.
We'll speak soon. You're listening to today.